Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Moser, and I'm the community manager for the DEO. And today I'm excited to bring to you another one of our amazing vendor sponsor spotlights from our DEO Summer Summit. Our goal is to provide you with a bit more insight into their worlds, helping you make decisions that are best for you and your organization. These interviews are part of the DEO's commitment to helping you achieve your dreams and visions. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Melissa Marquez from Jarvis Analytics. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, Charles. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. It's great to have you here. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and give us an overview of Jarvis Analytics.
Sure. So I've been in dentistry now for around 20 years, started as a chairside dental assistant, and then was part of a really thriving DSO for over 15 years in various operational roles. At Jarvis Analytics, which is my most recent role to join as of January, what we do is we help solve the problem that many DSOs face of having to access multiple practices, multiple systems to gather up their data and have efficient workflows. So Jarvis really acts as that intelligent data layer that integrates with the practice management system. And many of our DSO clients have multiple practice management systems because they've grown through acquiring and they don't necessarily want to have to go through an expensive conversion process. So they really enjoy that they can have their practices on various practice management systems and leverage Jarvis to provide them with really intelligent workflows and the data that they need to make their business decisions.
All right. Well, if this was a webinar, I know the chat box would be going crazy right now. So let's just kind of jump into the questions. Let's see. So what is the most important metric or KPI for measuring success in a DSO organization, in your opinion?
Well, DSOs are all going to have various opinions on this. I always say you've met one DSO, you've met one DSO, because there's a lot of uniqueness out there in the industry. And most people are going to say that EBITDA or profitability is king, and it's the number one thing that you should be measuring and that I'm sure everyone does measure today. But in terms of what you can measure, on an ongoing basis that really helps drive that profitability, this might be a little controversial, but I really think patient retention and reappointment rates are king. And we think about you can't have profit in a practice if you're not productive. You can't be productive without patients. And everyone really likes to focus on the new patient, which is also a key metric. But if our back door is wide open and our patients are leaving and we're not really measuring who's staying within the practice, who's happy in the practice and continues to return as our core business, it's going to be much more difficult to build lasting value in your practice and build up your patient base. And really those retained existing patients are what saw a lot of offices through after they reopened their doors this year through the pandemic. So I really feel that's a huge core metric that if you're not measuring it today and you really don't have your finger on the pulse of that metric, both retention and reappoint, you could be missing out.
So let's go to a little bit more of a granular level. Let's talk about first thing in the morning. What's the first metric a leader in a DSO should be looking at each morning?
So it's going to sound pretty basic, but I think fundamentally everyone who's run a dental office knows you've got to look at today and tomorrow and really think about who's coming in that has unscheduled treatment in our chairs today that could take a day that is maybe scheduled below your goal or below where you'd like to be in terms of productivity, but you can turn it around by really just understanding the opportunities that are within the patients in the charts coming in today. And so I would say, first thing in the morning, especially if you're a regional leader, looking at each of your practices and identifying how are your providers scheduled? Are they to their daily goal of where they would like to be? And then what's that uncovered, unscheduled treatment that's going to be walking through your doors today that you can make happen the same day? I really think everyone should really focus on today's scheduled production compared to goal as well as tomorrow, and then tap into that unscheduled treatment that those patients have on their in their charts.
Now, I know that a lot of our owner doctors are always trying to measure case acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And the formula for case acceptance, there's several different ways to do it. What does Jarvis have to say about measuring case acceptance?
We have a pretty broad variety of how our clients like to tackle this. And so typically we'll look at case acceptance over a 90-day rolling period. So we'll be able to understand, especially for those longer, more extensive treatment plans, what's happening over the next 90 days after you've diagnosed that treatment plan for the patient. But we also really focus on same day case acceptance. And that's a big one that a lot of our clients really leverage. They want to understand, where did we start the day? And from the time that we presented the treatment to the patient, what did we get to complete today that was on that treatment plan? So same day, as well as that 90-day look back, is important. Measuring their individual providers and their practices together and having the ability to compare those results, and then really understand best practices of the providers and the teams that are succeeding with same day case acceptance versus those that are struggling, has really been a big win for a lot of our DSO clients.
Now, I'm guessing that Jarvis layers on top of just about any practice management software out there.
There are a few out there that are, maybe the smaller up and coming or mom and pop type of PMS that we are not integrated with, but we are integrated with a good 90% of the core practice management systems that you'll find out there today.
And is there a mobile app that I can download on my phone so I can be at the lake and look at the productivity of all of my offices?
And that's the cool thing. I mean, even if you're not on a cloud-based software, Jarvis is connected to your server, pulling information all day long. And so all of our views are mobile friendly. So Charles, you could be at the lake, or you could be really anywhere that you can pull out your mobile device, your iPad, your iPhone, and check out what your numbers are on Jarvis from anywhere.
Okay, so I know that if you're a numbers guy or gal, if you're a numbers person, these analytics are really, really helpful. But some of the dentists out there, just aren't so numbers driven. So how do you make it palatable, or how do you dumb it down a little bit for the dentists out there that don't want to see 3 pages of numbers?
I love this question. And I think the way to do that is through patient care. Most of the dentists that I've worked with or for over the years are passionate about patient care. And, they're very used to, and I kind of always liken it back to how a hygienist explains health to a patient. We'll typically explain, we're going to be measuring your bone health and your gum health through these numbers that I'll be calling out. And so it engages the patient around their own treatment and around their own care. And I think you have to take a similar approach when you're discussing with providers their metrics, because you're right, they're typically not people that really want to sit and look at a bunch of numbers all day. But when you can make the connection to clinical KPIs and what's really valuable from a patient care standpoint, what's important to that provider, it then all can kind of come together. I think it's important to talk about the why, that these metrics help measure health and disease with your patient care. And that really opens up the conversation around their personal goals and what type of doctor they would like to be. And then you can really get good engagement around what those key metrics are. And you don't have to look at every metric every day. I know that it was kind of common sense to talk about looking at your scheduled production versus your daily goal a moment ago. But at least on a weekly basis, really understanding not just your case acceptance, but what type of procedures are your patients accepting? What type of procedures are you diagnosing? Really helps you understand at a deeper level your patient care and how you can drive performance at the next level.
I know another big struggle, I loved having morning huddles when I was in private practice, but I know sometimes on the group practice level, it's difficult to get associates and even team members to show up on time or be at the huddles. I think the major reason is because they don't recognize the value in the huddle. So how can we use Jarvis and KPIs and analytics to make those huddles more valuable so that people will want to be there? We won't have to mandate that they're there.
I think people will naturally gravitate to any tool that makes things easier. I think you're absolutely right. You're spot on about building the value around that activity. And when we can give them a tool that puts front and center for them all those opportunities versus them having to go run 5 different reports and, I've got to comb through this electronic chart to understand, is this patient scheduled or not, or I have to look at a route slip. When all that can be pulled together in an easy to digest morning huddle, then you can spend time really having a conversation as a team about what you can do to make this day smoother and more efficient and better for all of us as team members. If your huddle just consists of, having your coffee and talking about the numbers because you have to, because you're just checking a box and it's an exercise that your regional manager or perhaps your DSO has asked you to do, even if you're going through the motions, it won't bring the value. So I think it's key to help every team member understand how important their role is in that huddle. It can't just be a one-man show. And what Jarvis does is it helps break down that key information. Who's coming in today that does not have a future visit? What's our opportunity with that unscheduled treatment? Where can we better help each other based on what our schedule looks like today to be successful? Then I think you really start to understand the huddle is not just an activity to check the box, but it's an activity that really helps every team member thrive in their environment and get buy-in into the success of the practice.
So, all right, I know there's a couple other players in this analytics space. So what separates Jarvis from the other people that are in the analytics world?
Jarvis was really built with the feedback of DSOs. I think a lot of times different products that are out there think they know exactly what you need to be successful. But what makes us different is that we worked with DSO leaders, including a lot of doctors, to really better understand what are your personal challenges. What are you spending your time doing every day that you wish you didn't have to, that we could actually use Jarvis technology to solve for you. So what makes us different is we not only have those workflows for the practice team member, like the huddle and an end of day report, some recall functionality. We have workflows for every other type of role that you might find within a DSO, including some workflows around provider payroll. Calculating provider payroll for a lot of DSOs is a huge challenge. It's a lot of man hours, and they're having to do a lot of manual calculating around these different types of provider compensation that they have. For us, I think what makes us unique is hearing out those challenges, listening to our clients, and then building innovative solutions that they can't find elsewhere, and not just assuming what they may like to have or what they may like to see.
Well, Melissa, thank you so much for your time today and taking us behind the curtain of Jarvis. Tell people that are watching how they can get in touch with Jarvis. Can they get a free demo? What's next for people that are listening?
We love to do free demos, and our demos are interactive. They're not recorded. We really like to dig into what your needs are and help you find solutions. And they can do that by going to jarvisanalytics.com, hitting the button. We actually have a chat on there that you can engage with, or you can request a demo and have some times sent right over to you to schedule immediately. That's probably the best way to go ahead and get connected with Jarvis and learn more about Jarvis and our solution.